This episode is proudly sponsored by Hasa, the trusted choice for liquid chlorine. It's better because it offers the highest purity, works instantly, and contains no added CYA. By the bottom feeder, professional-grade battery-powered swimming pool vacuum system, it sucks to clean pools, so cleaning pools sucks less. Get $100 off the bottom feeder with code DVB100. Skimmer, trusted by over 30,000 pool service professionals across North America. Skimmer software helps you save time, grow revenue, and boost your 5-star reviews. Whether you're just starting out or expanding your team, Skimmer's easy-to-use tools and expert support have you covered. Upgrade your business in 2025 with Skimmer. Try Skimmer for 30 days for free at getskimmer.com/poolguy.
The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show.
Hi, welcome to the Pool Guy Podcast Show. In this episode, I'm going to talk to you about first impressions, making a good impression when you're out there bidding work or when you have existing customers, how to make a lasting, great first impression. This is something that's key to business, and your first impression may be your only impression that you can make, especially when you're trying to land a new pool account or do a job out there. The first impression is key. Join my coaching program and take your pool service to the next level. Connect with other pool pros in your area, gain valuable knowledge, and transform your business with personalized one-on-one advice from me. With over 36 years of experience, I'm here to help you succeed like never before. Learn more at poolguycoaching.com. Speaking for us in California, we have more of a problem with this, I think, than people maybe in the Midwest where they're just naturally polite. I've been to Texas and spent a couple days there, and everyone is super polite. They address you as sir or ma'am. Don't get that here too much. Maybe other areas of the country, maybe like New York, you don't get that. I'm actually from New Jersey, so I kind of know how people act over there. Not quite as polite as people, of course, in the middle of the country. And so this is a little bit harder for us, but it is something that you have to work on to make a good impression when you approach somebody. Eye contact, the basic stuff that we're probably not taught too much out here on the West Coast, but it's really critical. But beyond that kind of thing, I'm going to address some other details that I think are just as equally important. And a lot of the first impression is optics. Now, some things that you can do to improve optics cost a lot of money. Getting your truck wrapped is pretty expensive. I guess somewhere around $2,800 or $3,500 would be the range for a nice truck wrap. I think it's great if you wanted to go that far. I think it's a great way to impress a customer without doing anything except pulling up to the stop. That right there sets a really good tone that you're a professional and that you do this for a living. If you don't want to go that far, just having magnetic decals on the side of your door may just be enough to separate you from other people that come bid. You can get these magnets anywhere online. For my magnetic stickers I use, or magnetic side panels or whatever you want to call them, I guess signs would be the best way to say it, is Build a Sign is the company that I use. They're pretty affordable, they're pretty fast, and they always have discounts. So it's Build a Sign, and they make the magnetic door advertisements for your vehicle. You can put your brand on there, you can change the color, you can make it match the color of your company, and it's something that's going to really help with a first impression, I think. Then having a uniform is, I think, really essential. It's something that's going to separate you from your competition out there. An uniform can be something really simple. I always wear slacks. I don't wear shorts. I haven't worn shorts out doing my pool route since maybe the early 90s. I went to slacks because many reasons, but one main reason besides optics is that my legs would get really burned out there from the heat, and I'd rather sweat than be burned. So I went to slacks. So you can wear a pair of Docker slacks and then maybe a dress shirt. You can get a button-up shirt like I wear, or you can have a collar shirt. You can also get these really cool uniforms. The guys at the pool shows once in a while, they're called Revved Up Apparel, and they're really nice uniforms. You'll see me wearing my swimming pool learning shirt in some of the videos I filmed. It's a great way to make a really good impression, and having a uniform or having that kind of look is really essential out there in business now. It's a different era than it used to be, and people are looking for more professional service. One tip here is that if you do work out there and you're going to get dirty and you have a bid later that day, have a spare shirt in your truck to change into. It makes a world of difference when you show up looking clean. Whenever I do filters, I wear an apron, and I think the aprons are really great to protect you from getting really dirty out there. But if you do get dirty, I suggest having a clean shirt that's ironed and ready to go hanging in your truck so that you can put that on to make a good impression when you meet the customer. You never want to show up at the bid with a dirty shirt full of, DE stuck on there and dirt and mud, whatever you're doing. You just want to make that impression, especially again if it's later in the day and you've been working all day. You want to look pretty fresh for that bid. Another aspect that's a little bit intangible, but it goes to the first impression, is the way you carry yourself. I meet a lot of vendors and a lot of realtors in my other field that I do. I do investing. And so I can really gauge an agent or a vendor right away based on how they interact, their level of confidence in the work that they can perform. And I'm not saying the attitude should be something of an arrogant, kind of like, I know everything and I'm the best kind of attitude. That's kind of off-putting, but more of an attitude like, I know what I'm doing and I'm not going to mess this up. I think that's the best way to describe the attitude that I look for. I don't want anyone who's like way above and thinking that they're the best ever that walk the planet. That's not going to get you the job or the bid. But just having kind of like this quiet confidence that, yes, I know what I'm doing. I can do this. Here's my bid. I remember in Riverside that he had this, he's actually still really young. I think he's only in his early 30s. But when he first started, he was like 27 and he had already had some graying hair. So that kind of made him look older. But he had this attitude and he carried himself like this everywhere he went. So I've met him several times, had lunch with him. He just walked back there, give the customer the little rundown of the business, and then he would tell the customer, if you hire me and my company, you're never going to have to worry about your pool again. Here's my bid, here's my card, call me when you're ready for service. And he'd just walk out. And it's not arrogant, but it is a level of confidence and a belief in your business that I think goes a long way with the customer. When they meet someone like that, they're not going to hesitate because that kind of confidence can't be faked. You have a business that you run, that you have this model that you have put in place and the business plan that is so bulletproof that you can make a statement like that and it's true and it rings true to the customer that they'll have nothing to ever worry about if they hire you. So that's what I'm talking about, making that impression. If you get to the pool and you're just kind of fumbling around and you don't have a script and you don't stick to it, and I think that's important too. I think you should script out everything you're going to say, have a routine. It doesn't matter if you say the same thing to every customer, but having that scripted so that you don't ad-lib anything, that's when you could get in trouble. Just script everything out, where you're going to say, how you're going to bid it, and it's really simple. I really think it's effective, and I've run into many vendors in different fields that do exactly this. They have this script they go over with me, and I already know that it's scripted because they do it so well and it works, it's effective. It gets me to hire them because I know that they're professional. So here are some key things to avoid when you're meeting someone for the first time. There's, of course, a lot of subjects that are off the table that you can't even address because you don't know how they're going to react. And that's why small talk is probably something you want to avoid if at all possible. If they ask you something, you just answer directly, or you say, I don't really have an opinion on that topic at this point. But you want to steer away from any small talk that's going to go down these rabbit holes that may lead you not to get the bid. That's really important. Just stick to your script, stick to your points, and don't go anywhere with that. I think number 2 is that you don't want to criticize the other pool service professional that did the pool before you. You're going to hear a lot of this, and I was guilty of this before, and I realized that it's not a great impression. But they'll say something like, he just didn't know what he was doing. There was algae all the time, and I'm not sure if he was properly trained. Or they'll say he was really inconsistent, and he didn't spend a lot of time here, and I just don't think he knew what he was doing, so that's why I'm calling you. And your first thought would be, yeah, I can see that the pool looks terrible. Of course he didn't know what he was doing. That's kind of like the first thing that we think of when someone is like handing you all that, and you throw it back at him. But I don't think that's appropriate. You should just say, yeah, you're not going to have that problem if you hire me. I think that should be the end of it. And that's also a pretty good impression that you're not talking bad about somebody. Who knows? Maybe they had a medical issue, or maybe they were overworked and had too many pools. And this was one of the pools they were kind of cutting corners on to get through their day. You don't know the whole story behind it. And I think you want to start off with the right tone there. You also don't want to address anybody except the person who is going to potentially hire you. So if there's kids there or someone else there, just keep your conversation to the bidding, and I would keep it focused on, this is what I'm going to provide for you. This is how much I charge for this. And if you want to go forward, let me know. Simple as that. I don't recommend petting the dog that's next to you or anything like that. To me, that comes later. When you have the service account, you can definitely you can pet the dog whenever you want at that point. But right there, you just want to keep things very professional and keep focused on doing this bid, and nothing's going to distract you. And here's one that I think is really crucial, and I think a lot of newbies try to show off by doing this, and that's turning something on or showing off, basically like, oh, I know what I'm doing. I have two good examples here, and I'll share these with you because these actually happened. One, it was an automated system. I think it was an Easy Touch, and the customer was like, yeah, I mean, I'd like to, use my spa. Is there any way to like do it manually? And he went over there and he didn't know too much about the system. And of course, the Easy Touch has a spa button on there, but he went to the panel and he did something. I'm not even sure what he did, and it started to go into spa drain mode. And he went out to his truck and he called me. He's like, hey, it's like draining the spa down. I think I messed things up. I said, oh, don't worry about it. Go to the panel and turn the breaker off for 1 minute. And that will reset it back to its auto mode. And so he went there, turned the breaker off, and it reset it. So that was good. I solved the problem. He didn't look too bad, but you just don't want to be hitting buttons when you don't know the system or you're not familiar with something. And then another instance was a member in Florida bidding on an above ground pool, and he saw that the pump basket was full of leaves, and the pool of course didn't look that great. He's like, oh, here's the problem, the last pool guy wasn't cleaning out the pump basket. And again, he's new to service, and this is something that he didn't realize, but he went and he opened up the pump basket to empty the debris out, and then he couldn't get the lid back on because the water started gushing out of this above ground pool. And of course, he called me right away, and I said, are there any valves on there that turns the water off? He goes, no, there's no valves by the equipment, which in some cases that happens in an above ground pool. But you see what happens is that the water is above the pump, so gravity is going to, of course, push the water out of the pump. There's no way to get that lid on. You can try to scoop the water out with your hand and twist the lid on fast. Not going to happen. So I told him, well, do you have a tennis ball? No. I go, do you have a rag? He goes, yeah, I got rags in my truck. I said, get a rag, put it in the skimmer hole, and stop the flow of water with the rag. So he did that, and he was able to get the lid back on. Again, don't touch anything because it's not your account. And this also happened. I'll give you one more example. There was a guy in my group that was doing a bid, and he was over by the timer, and he's like, oh, I'm going to just turn on the system and see if it works. Bad idea. He flipped the thing on. The pump came on for a second, and it popped. I'm sure it was the capacitor, but of course, since he turned it on, he's the last one holding the bag. He's going to have to figure out what to do with it. And of course, he explained to the customer that it was a capacitor, and when he takes over the account, he'll replace it, no problem. Kind of got away with that one. But it's one of those things where you just don't know what's going to happen. So you do that after you get the account. You do a full run through on everything to make sure everything's working, not while you're doing the bid. And I guess since I'm on this subject, one thing that I think is bad also is when you overpromise things. Like you look at a pool and you'll see a rust stain in there. You'll be like, oh yeah, I can get that out, no problem. But maybe it's the rebar coming through. Well, then you won't be able to get that out, no problem. And you're just overpromising at that point. I wouldn't overpromise to land the bid because the customer is going to hold you to some of these things. And just like a politician, you can't come through at the end. You're going to look really bad in the customer's eyes. So don't overpromise things that you can't do. Don't even promise like a service day that you can't do it on. Don't say, I could do this on Friday when you can't, because they're going to hold you to it. To get the account by saying that, it's a bad impression because you told the customer Friday, then you're going to call them later and say, oh, I can only do it on a Wednesday. That's not going to go over well. So you want to make sure that everything you state at the bid is going to be something that is going to come true for the customer, and it's not going to be something you're going to change later. Now, here's something that a lot of people think is old school, and that's a business card. I think it's really important to have a business card because it should have your website. They can go to your website and check out everything about you there. And it's something that people like. I still like collecting them. I get them everywhere I go. People have them when I go looking for furniture. They have their card. It's like, here, call me when you come back in. So everyone has a card. I think it's important. You can also see the new people too. Like I remember when I was buying my Ridgeline, there was like a new salesperson. He goes, here's my card. It was like a handwritten name on there with like the Honda dealership, blank card because he's new. And that's kind of a way to feel out the person too. So if you have a card that looks professional and it looks like you've been around for a while, they're going to really feel like you're going to be able to take care of their pool for them. If you don't have any advertisement or any flyers or business cards or anything like that, it is kind of weird. You just tell the customer, oh, you go to my website, cleanbluepools.com. It's better if you have something you can tangibly hand them. And some people actually do like a bid presentation on a one-page paper so that they have all the information when they're done. Not a bad idea. That's an extra step. If you wanted to do that, you can give them a piece of paper that kind of explains everything you went over with them. It's really not a bad idea, and it's something that makes you look really professional as well. You might have a business card stapled to the top of it, but these are all things that are really easy to do. You just have to remember when you're there to kind of do these things, and it takes some practice not to do the small talk and not to kind of deviate, and especially not to fix anything when you see a glaring issue where you can easily fix something. Like if you're there and the canister lid of the cleaner is open, you're tempted to be like, well, this is why the cleaner's not working. The lid's wide open. More than likely it's broken. You touch it, they'll be like, well, it wasn't like that before you touched it. Anything like that get you in trouble. So have those boundaries and just remember you're there just to bid on the pool, to make that impression, getting out of your truck, your clean truck, and you're getting out in your uniform and you're presenting yourself in a polite manner to really land that account with that confident attitude that I kind of described here. You should have that attitude that you can do this, not arrogant, but that you're professional. And if they hire you, they're not going to have any problems with their pool. If you're looking for other podcasts I've recorded, you can find those on my website, swimmingpoollearning.com. Click on the podcast icon on the banner, and that'll take you to a drop-down menu of other podcasts I have recorded. And if you're interested in the coaching program that I offer, you can learn more at poolguycoaching.com. Thanks for listening to this podcast. Have a great rest of your week, and God bless. This episode is brought to you by Hasa, providing products that deliver clean, healthy water for every aspect of everyday life. The bottom feeder battery-powered vacuum system, portable, powerful, and only weighs 12 pounds. And Skimmer. Get Skimmer, America's #1 pool service software. Podcast listeners can try Skimmer for free at getskimmer.com/poolguy.